Stay in the same subject. A leaked internal Islamic State manual shows how the terrorist group has set about building a state in Iraq and Syria, complete with government departments, a treasury, and an economic program for self-sufficiency. I-24 News defense correspondent Shai Ben-Ari reports.
A blueprint for a state. That is what emerges from internal Islamic State documents published by The Guardian Monday. The trove consists of 340 papers overall, including administrative documents, memos, and even receipts, offering a rare glimpse into the inner workings of the governmental apparatus established by IS. The documents were obtained by a 23-year-old researcher, Ayman Jawad Al-Tamimi of Cardiff. Some of the more intriguing papers relate to economic issues and shed some light on the financial state of the terror group. Some estimates had put IS's revenue at $3 million per day from various sources of income. But one document reveals that the daily revenue in IS's most oil-rich province, Deir ez-Zor, stood at only slightly more than $66,000 last January. Oil does not represent IS's biggest source of income. The documents show that almost 45% of IS's revenue in Deir ez-Zor derives from confiscated property, such as houses and other valuables belonging to political enemies. Interestingly, some documents prohibit IS members from exploiting their positions to benefit their own personal interests. With government corruption rampant throughout the Middle East, IS's message that none are above the law in its territory has been a major drawing point for Sunni Muslims. One of the documents spans 24 pages and operates as a foundational text for state administrators trained by the terror group. It was written in the months following the declaration of an Islamic caliphate by Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi and lays down principles for governing, including policies relating to military training, education, and media, as well as economic and foreign affairs. One point notes the need to maintain valuable projects established under previous regimes, while bringing in new Islamic State administrators to supervise, for example at manufacturing plants and factories. Another point urges the importance of external relations, and even encourages the establishment of alliances with other actors that can act as a, quote, guarantee of force and leverage. No less than 7 conditions are given for the establishment of such ties, all relating to the protection of Muslim interests.
Let's talk a little bit about these leaked documents. We are not talking, because all the world is talking about a terror group. All the world is talking about some kind of a 30,000 people, 15,000, between 15 to 30,000 people that the world needs to fight. But it's not like that. If we're talking education, if we're talking about treasury offices, if we're talking about taxes, this is not a terror group anymore. This should maybe involve bigger measures than only striking via air.
But this is not surprising. We have the Hezbollah and Hamas examples of taking care of welfare for the inhabitants of the territory they control, and being at the same time an ideological and military organization. But here it is relatively easy for Daesh to do it because these are resource-rich areas. They can't do it in the Sinai Desert, where there's nothing except for tourism, which they are hurting. When they do it in the oil-producing regions, when they take over Mosul and they take over the oil infrastructure, and they have convoys of cars going back and forth and trading, this is possible. Also, in some measure, they're acting like Robin Hoods. They are taking money from people who want to use the roads, be they merchants or lorry drivers, and they have a very effective system of collecting taxes, and they don't have to pay anybody
I want to ask you, does the world want to deal with ISIS like now the world is dealing with Hezbollah, with Hamas, with other terror groups that basically have, from one hand, they have their political hand and they have their, let's say, jihadist hand or more military hand like we see in Hamas and the Hezbollah?
Lucy, if you allow, I will go 10 years ago to the theoretical part. We saw more and more Islamic intellectuals and Islamic preachers calling to create an organization that have the vocation, the ambition of creating a state, a political entity. This is why Abu Mus'ab al-Zarqawi, before being executed, assassinated, created on the ruins of Al-Qaeda in Iraq, the state of Iraq. The state of Iraq was later on developed to the state of Iraq and the Levant, Iraq and Syria, and then it became the Islamic State. So since 2007, 2008, there were around the jihadists on the ground, theoreticians and religious that were calling to create an entity and not to stop at creating a guerrilla organization that attacks here and then disappeared. And as Amir said, of course, the situation, the resources of Iraq and Syria allowed the Islamic State to implement its ideology. And to the second part of your question, yes, I think that some elements in the Turkish regime, some elements in the Saudi regime says, yes, they prefer to see the Islamic State as, at least as a tool that can be used in the war, in this proxy war against Iran. And one last sentence, Lucy. Yesterday, the Ministry of Religion in Kuwait said that it is receiving every month 10 complaints from parents saying that their kids, their children, are identifying or want to join the Islamic State. The Saudis are now taking hundreds of books in their educational system that encourage young people to join the Islamic State.
You know what you're telling me, gentlemen. What you're telling me now is maybe during this road or the path that we're seeing right now is leading to some kind of negotiation at the end with ISIS, and not even fighting ISIS. Because if we are talking about a state, a real state, about all these ministries that we're looking at, all the situation that you are explaining, we are talking about a situation that the Western world will have to face at the end of the day, some kind of okay, we need to sit down on a table with ISIS and try to negotiate this in one way or another. Maybe this is something that Russia already understands and the West doesn't.
Well, Russia will not allow the creation of an Islamic State because its interests are diametrically opposed to such a state. Now, nothing is impossible in international relations, and if this were to be only a regime change, if for some reason the next president or prime minister in Baghdad and the next ruler in Syria were just the heirs to the present rulers but belonging to the Islamic State, this could be acceptable, but this is not the trend. The caliphate that Baghdadi and others want to create is revolutionary. It is not part of the world order. It is designed to destroy the world order. And as it is right now, it is even worse than the Taliban. The Americans did not want to negotiate with the Taliban regime in Afghanistan. They set out to destroy it, and did. Perhaps now it is coming back. Now Daesh is fighting Taliban. So it doesn't seem in the cards what you're suggesting.
Okay, so let's